if you think about sacred or golden geometry, which will be made, I think it might be important in this whole technology, because it is quite masonry and Illuminati, and they all talk about golden geometry and nature's design. You know what I mean? That it's quite
Yeah, I do.
esoteric. But
Well, it is, but it's mathematics. I mean,
eventually it is, yeah. That's why I'm so
Yeah.
confused that it's always put into this corner of being esoteric,
Look,
and you see it in the symbolism of masonry, and it's
well, Freemasonry is built on geometry. They call God the grand geometrician. And this golden rule, is part of that. It's a derivative of that. And to deny that it exists in the formation of, say, a conch shell, or, a snail, or, weather patterns or galaxies and the spiral fields of gravity would be insane, because it's real.
I think eventually it's about the motive.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. You can have the technology, but bad motive, and it's not
I
good.
think so much about this word because it's pretty biblical, and there is stuff in the Bible which is being put out, which wasn't, which didn't stay in the Bible sometimes, when it's about motive, and I feel this is a very important term.
There are other books that were not included in the canon decided by the Catholic Church. The book of Jasher, the book of
St. Thomas.
Enoch, and Thomas. Yeah, I mean, there's probably 6 books that
why
tell
is
you
that?
a lot more.
Why is that?
Well, they decided in this Council of Trent, they said, look, these aren't verified by other books. They don't agree. There's some things that look like it's not exactly accurate by other books. Therefore, we can't include them in the canon. But there were probably other reasons behind it, in that it didn't give full authority to the Vatican. It was a deception that Jesus spoke of. The deception would start even while he was here. And his disciples were doing what they could, and those who followed the disciples formed this group of believers that over a couple of generations became, at the Council of Trent, became the Catholic, organization rather than a religion. And that's where Jesus knew it was going to be a great deception be put upon us. And so he warned about that. Be clever, be cautious. And, we have the Calvinists to thank for going away from the Latin and letting us read the Bible ourselves in the Greek and in the Hebrew. Before, we weren't allowed to by the Vatican, which was really not right.
But when I read, for example, the sayings of St. Thomas, some of them, I mean, they resonate so much and be so, they seem so important.
Yes.
And then I feel that it was excluded from the Bible is nearly, it's just strange,
Well, it's mankind, a group of men trying to form a power structure, which they did, and it was under the influence, whether they knew it or not, of Satan.
But then you could hide the whole Bible maybe over the millennium, or why would you just take certain parts, or let's say Book of Enoch and the whole information about giants, and which is biblical, even what we can see in the Bible.
And even in modern times, the Vatican has built churches over the sites in the Mediterranean area and some of the islands where giants are known to have lived and then be buried. They have built a church over the top so you can't get to the burial grounds for the giants. They don't want to admit that giants were here because, Satan doesn't want to let you know that he has made these hybrid beings and they were real. They're trying every way they can to discredit some of these things that would prove the authenticity of the Bible. That's why I found it so important for 2 things: to find the Garden of Eden, to prove it from the ancient scriptures, and to prove that Atlantis was where the children of Adam and Eve, the Adamic man, was mixed with the fallen ones in Saudi Arabia, at least, and possibly in South America and China as well. But where there was a mixed DNA to form these giants and these one-eyed cyclops and these super beings like Hercules, that kind of stuff. These people, or these beings, did really exist, but they were they were polluted DNA. That Satan was manipulating, trying to get the access that the Holy Spirit was in the Adamic man, to get that access into his created beings that would be loyal to him, so he could take over in the heavens. It's all about war in the heavens, and a third of the beings in heavens revolted, and joined Satan, and they're all going to be cast down to earth now. But this, if you look at it as a war, several things come out like, why wasn't I told blah blah blah? Well, because God doesn't want to let the enemy know what he's doing, and it all makes sense if you just put it in that framework.
I mean, in this cross-reference, if you think about Epic of Gilgamesh and all this Sumerian artwork back then,
Yeah.
I mean, thousands of years old, and you see, I saw this one artwork from bronze, made out of bronze or something, where you
Yeah.
see Gilgamesh having those creatures on a leash, and they
Yeah.
are like hybrid beings, half animal, half human,
Yeah.
or something weird. And this is already kind of cross reference, because you can see it in Egypt. You can see those hybrid beings everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
in antique art.
Like one of the interesting ones in Egypt was the pharaoh Set, S-E-T, but it's also S-E-T-H, and Seth was one of the name of one of the children of Adam and Eve after they left the garden, after they were cast out. And so he was according to the Egyptian legend, he was a god that came from the desert, red hair. He was kind of a wild man, and he was an early pharaoh or demigod in their religion. So I wonder if it wasn't an Adamic man, a son of Adam and Eve, that was Seth, in that area, because the Garden of Eden was in Tanzania, and there's a desert between there and Egypt.
That's actually one of your biggest view hits on YouTube, or about Eden and
that in Atlantis. Both of them, yeah. Millions of people have already watched them, but
I could see the massive view counts actually. It's such a it's not that famous of a topic if you think globally.
Yeah,
so that's amazing actually, to reach so many listeners with this.
It was to prove to people who said, the Bible is not really history, it's just, fable. And so when you use the Bible to prove the location and go to it for Atlantis, and when you prove the location of the fallen ones in Atlantis, when you prove the asteroid to hit on the east coast of India to destroy Atlantis and cover it with the seabed and stuff, 2 miles deep, when you prove these things, then the people that argue the Bible can't be trusted don't have an argument, because it's truth. It's there.